And welcome into Getting Help from Uncle Sam. You know, I've said it all along. If you ever want to talk to one of your representatives or your senator, the time to talk to them is when they're not in session. When they're in session, they've got a lot to do. So if you have any concerns, want to talk about any things, your representative should be available to you, hence the name representative, and we have one that shows how it's done. Representative Phil Ensler, and you are in Montgomery. You cover from about Chisholm down to Spring Valley.
That's right.
Just about the central part of the city of Montgomery. And you're kind of a new guy there, aren't you? You've been in this. Is this your second term now?
Yep.
Yes.
So my first term, second year
Okay.
of a 4-year term. So yeah, relatively new, but working really hard. And look, like you said, we are there to represent
Yes.
people, and we're there to make sure that we're addressing the issues that matter most to people in the district. I'm looking forward to talking a little bit about that.
Well, that's the reason that we had you come on as a guest today, because, you know, we watch to see what representatives are just kind of there, and then those that are there, and you're there. You don't feel bad about speaking up for what matters, and you don't matter, and you take a stand when a stand needs to be taken.
Absolutely, and a lot of being there are times that we're on the offensive where you introduce bills and try to propose things. There are times being on the defensive where you have to fight what you think is not a good bill, but for the most part, we work well together.
Yes, and you're very bipartisan.
Very much, and
Yes.
people in Alabama, especially in Montgomery, they want to just see solutions. They want to see that we're going to
Yes.
get things done. And we can certainly get into it. I know people are concerned about public safety, and what I've been doing is working, with members, Democrat and Republican, to say what are some common sense, what are some reasonable things we can do to try to make things a little bit safer? Because everyone deserves that. Everyone should live in a safe neighborhood and feel safe, walking to school or going to the grocery store.
Yes.
And we, overall are a safe place, but we have to do even more.
Okay, the co-hostess of my show this past week had her wallet stolen right out of her car while she was standing there in Sturbridge.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's out there, but you're looking a lot of the bills you've proposed have to do a lot with gun safety also.
That's right, and everything I propose is constitutional, so in no way are we talking about infringing on the
right.
Second Amendment, but these are things that law enforcement say would help make a difference. And look, laws are not going to prevent every wrongdoing. It starts at home. It starts with a good family.
Hit the nail on the head.
It starts with that good foundation. But we can put certain things in place the same way we have stop signs or speed limits. We put what we call guardrails to try to deter people. And then if they break the law, then there are consequences. So one of the very specific things I've been focusing on, increasingly, pistols that are of course legal, but what happens is people are converting them into machine guns using these things called Glock switches. And when people maybe hear at night or catch on their ring bell cameras, what sounds like a machine gun going off, that's often what it is. But those currently are not illegal on the state level. So what we want to do is have a state level law that says that you can't you can't have those and use them, and that's something that our police, the sheriffs, district attorney, neighborhood groups, there's a lot of support for it. And again, it's not going to stop every act of gun violence, but it can maybe make things a little safer.
Yeah, and you mentioned the fact that obviously you have the right to have a gun, and a gun should be used for protection, a degree of recreation, and maybe to hunt.
Exactly.
That's it. And it should not be used for an aggressive move. And what you're showing is the fact that these people that are basically criminals have taken a legal gun and made it where it can become more lethal and be able to do more harm.
Right, and at that point, it goes beyond, like you said, just having a firearm for self-protection or recreation or hunting. All of that, we don't want to mess with that at all. That people have that right, but we're talking about, like you said, the key word, the most lethal, the most dangerous devices that are out there. And look, with any constitutional right, free speech, voting, we have some reasonable requirements around it. So that's all we want to do, around these Glock switches in particular. But beyond that, a lot of what I propose and have gotten enacted so far deals with violence prevention. So before even people get, in a bad situation, especially with our young people, we want to teach them the skills, to deal with conflict in a nonviolent way, make sure that they can talk it through. Look, people get heated, people have disagreements.
Oh, yes.
That's fine, but we just don't want them to go ahead and pick up a gun and deal with it that way.
Yeah, you just need to take a deep breath and then act. Then listen and find out what's going on. That's one of the best things you possibly can do. So the upcoming session was going to be about another 4 months. It starts a little earlier next year. I think it starts the beginning of February.
Exactly.
Does it not? And that's because it's an election year that they do it that way, I believe.
Yeah, it alternates every year. So yeah, we go back in February, and then we'll be there for about 4 months. And yeah, a lot gets packed in. Certainly the biggest things are the budget, so education.
Yes, and that's the major role. People, you need to realize that the major role of the legislators is to pass budgets.
Exactly.
And then after that, it's a lot of laws that have to be enacted also.
Exactly, and there are going to be all sorts of proposals dealing with education and healthcare and economic development. And my hope is we focus on things that improve outcomes for everyone, that are focused on solutions. I know a big issue that gets a lot of concern now is related to healthcare and Medicaid, and that's something where we're increasingly hearing that hopefully the governor supports that. We have a lot of rural hospitals that are closing.
Yes.
Here in Montgomery, we have increasingly a strain on our hospitals. So the term, is whether it's Medicaid expansion, closing the health insurance gap. As a legislature, we don't have to pass that, but that's certainly something that I know people care about. And if we can make sure we're supporting our doctors and nurses and healthcare system, that can make a big difference for a lot of people.
In most cases, the government should be interested in our defense. Again, like you say, even at the state level, keeping us safe. And then I think medicine becomes a high priority.
It does, and we have to have a healthy community and society, and that way people can go to school and go to work and take care of their families, and it's a basic human need, and government can't do all of it, but there are some things that we can do to better support the population.
So during this off season right now, off session time, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to do it?
Yeah, so they can email me. It's simple. It's my first initial P and then Ensler at alhouse.gov.
Okay.
So
and
again,
we're putting that up on the screen.
That'd be great. Yep. So
people can see
P Ensler at alhouse.gov.
So you keep up the great work.
Thank you.
You're doing good. We've been watching you because we know whenever there's a newbie, you have to kind of look and see what are they doing. You're doing great work. And remember, it is the House of Representatives. They're here to represent you. Reach out to them, let them know your concerns, and then see if they follow up on them. And we'll be right back right after this.